We now return to Let's Play Ace Attorney Chronicles. Okay, so before going into the next episode, this game has this feature called Escapades, which are a series of, I guess, side quest mission things that apparently happen interspersed with some of the missions. So it seems like this one, episode 1, takes place directly after the first episode, and these other ones kind of give you a little bit of spoilers, I guess, of what's coming, but it sort of shows you things that you should be prepared for. So just based upon this, I'm going to try and figure out when these are supposed to be played chronologically. So let's get into episode 1, in the defendant's antechamber. In the first of 8 escapades, Ryunosuke finds 2 troublemaking witnesses from his earlier trial having a battle of words in the defendant's antechamber, leading to a real tongue lashing. I do not know how long these are, but hopefully there'll be little short asides here. It includes spoilers about the first game's story. Okay. I'm assuming we've passed the point where we're still on the 22nd of November. Looks like shortly after? Because it was, what, like 2:40 something when the first one ended?
Just look at my priceless treasure now. Myself, I have scrubbed and scrubbed, but the repellent odor of meat will never be repelled from this resplendent surface again.
But you have to back it. You have it back in your possession, at least. You should be grateful, old man.
How dare you?
Excuse me, but I'd just like to get at the zabuton cushion there, if I could. The zabuton is that the one on the floor? The ones that they sit on the floor?
Rest assured, you miserable military malefactor, this is not over. Incarceration awaits those who would defraud a senior citizen of his priceless treasures.
Watch your tongue, old man. Mark my words, I won't... sorry, Sergeant, but could I just get at that zabuton cushion there as well? Oh. I won't go to jail, never. Imagine if I did. The very next day, my boy would starve without the chain of command in place to provide for him.
Using the child to protect yourself? Myself, I call that abstinent cowardice.
Oh, really? And who just employed that poor, defenseless senior citizen tactic? Let me try that again. Who just employed... I'm also trying to remember the voices. Who just employed that old, poor, defenseless senior citizen tactic? The only way to fight an enemy who's using underhand tactics is with a tit-for-tat strategy. Sorry to interrupt again, but I just need to get at that Western-style cushion there on the sofa. Enough of this insubordination. What do you want, man? Please, don't mind me.
Do my eyes deceive me, or is this the wide-eyed criminal from the trial before?
Wide-eyed, perhaps, but criminal, no.
What is this unhealthy fascination you exhibit with the seating arrangements of others, Why were you peering under the cushion of this upholstered seat?
Oh, well, the thing is... Any luck? Did you find it? Who are we talking about? No, sadly not. I don't think it's here, Kazuma. You really are a liability, Ryunosuke. Report, at once! Have you lost something? Is that it? Yes, we were just on our way to a party to celebrate my friend's victory here, when... I realized that my university pin badge was missing.
A university pin badge, you say?
Yes, from my collar here, you see? Affirmative. Uniforms must be kept in prime condition at all times. A missing badge is unacceptable. I thought if I looked around, it would probably turn up somewhere. Like the old tale of the Koban coin and the steak. The old tale,
A parable of which I am acutely aware.
But I've exhausted my search now, really. The only logical conclusion is that someone must have stolen it, yes, because that is always the case when you can't find something. Don't look at me! I don't just find any old metal objects irresistible, you know. Imagine what would happen if little Trooper Ido here swallowed something like that. I'm afraid we'll have to give up, Ryunosuke. Still, if you tell the office your student number, they should be able to issue you with a new one. What's the matter? Don't tell me. Yes, I don't remember my student number. I don't believe it. I mean, this is the second time you've lost your badge, isn't it? Third, actually. If you didn't think you could remember it, you should have made a note of it somewhere. I told you that until I was blue in the face. I told you that until I was blue in the face last time this happened. Yes, I do seem to remember someone telling me something along those lines. It was you, was it? You can't even remember who told you that. You needed to remember it? Well, student numbers are 6 digits, Kazuma. Who could remember 6 whole digits? Yume isn't exactly a long-established university, you know. All of our numbers are still rather low. In fact, they only use the last 3 digits. Well, that might help, I suppose. That might help? Ryunosuke, it's only 3 digits you needed to remember. Just 3. Sorry, my brain is such a disappointment.
Yes, well, anyway, young man, myself, I was greatly impressed with you in the courtroom today.
Oh, you mean me?
A lawyer already before you even graduated, and such a loyal friend to this one.
This one? What's that supposed to mean? Oh no, I still have much to learn. In fact, that was brought home to me in no uncertain terms only last year. My Achilles heel was spectacularly exposed by my best friend here.
Indeed?
By me? This is the first I've heard about it. Yes, by Ryunosuke Naruhodo. You can't have forgotten, surely. It was last summer. Dude, I can't remember 6 digits from, a week ago? At the speech contest. The speech contest? Oh, that. Contestants had to take to the stage and deliver a public address on any subject they chose. We were competing to give the most compelling and powerful speech. Yours was great. It made a huge impression on the audience. Obviously, since I was a budding student of law, I was determined to win. And sure enough, one by one, my opposition fell. When I reached the final at last, I came up against you. Yes, so you did. Not being rude, but when I first laid eyes on you, I thought to myself, this cheeky, wide-eyed no-hoper is out of his depth. He's going to be a pushover. That's your version of not being rude, is it? Well, I paid for my complacency, because it brought on that humiliating defeat. Defeat? How were your ranks compromised? My speech was going very well. I had the audience in the palm of my hand. They hung on my every word. And then, when I came to the very last line...
Yes? What happened at the very last line?
It was supposed to be a climactic end. Unfortunately, I completely fouled it up.
Never.
You mean you stumbled on your words? Spectacularly. Even now, I can't believe I ruined it. Well, what on earth did you say, man? Ryunosuke, you'd better say it. I still can't get my tongue around it. Sure, of course. I can still recall it perfectly. What you said at the end of your speech, or rather, what you intended to say at the end of your speech, was this. So arise, ladies and gentlemen, and applaud our forefathers' plight and the fight for filial piety. And what went wrong?
What indeed? Myself, I see no problems with the pronunciation of these paltry words.
In that case, old man, I invite you to say it yourself.
Very well, then, I shall. So arise, ladies and gentlemen, and applaud our forefathers' plight and the fight. Oh. It's impossible!
The arise, ladies and gentlemen part I delivered perfectly. But the next part had me floundering for a whole 5 minutes. By the end of it, I was on my knees in front of the podium, a blabbering mess. And that's when the audience started to heckle you. Arise, arise, they were shouting.
Hell on earth.
But then, of course, this man went and delivered his word-perfect speech with a perfect ending. How did it go again? Let me see. So, my dear fellows, the message is simple. Treat your father and mother with respect. Something like that. I mean, talk about stating the obvious. But the fact is, I lost to that speech.
Tongue-tied is the only way to describe it.
Well, it is quite tricky to say, I agree. That final fight for filial piety especially. And ever since that day, I've had this question whirling around in my head. Why did our forefathers choose such an awkward phrase? Was it to mock their children? I mean, it should never have been called filial piety in the first place. At least you're going to Great Britain soon. It might not come up much there. Well, anyway, having lost that accursed contest, I came after you to ask you a question. How is it that you never trip up on your words? I inquired. Because I wasn't doing the voice then, apparently. And you just gave me a broad smile and said, "Speaking fast is my hobby." I mean, really, what kind of hobby is that? Do you think you could take your hand off your sword? Besides, it's just a way to pass the time. After that, you started talking at me 10 to the dozen, like you were possessed almost. Honestly, you can't imagine the shock I suffered that day. You really can't. You're right, I really can't. Speaking fast is just the sort of hobby I'd expect a civilian like you to waste his time on. Well, you have to practice, of course, but there are some simple things to start with. Like this famous one, for example. These aren't speaking fast so much as tongue twisters, which I guess doesn't translate well. Swift samurai sword swipes silently sideways.
Ah, yes, even a decrepit tongue and an ailing frame such as mine can find its way around that one.
I've no doubt. It's just a bit of fun, really. I can't imagine anybody would struggle to say it. Isn't that right, Kazuma? Swift samurai a blabbering mess by word, too. It's not just the samurai. Every good soldier needs to be able to handle a sword. That's why I've been busy teaching Ido the finer points of swordplay. None of his wordplay nonsense. This wordplay nonsense private. And to think of it, not long after that, we started to attend lectures together, didn't we? And we got into that debate about family values at the Sukiyaki place on campus. Do you remember? Yes, your argument was full of jokes and puns and wordplay as usual. I remember it well. Oh, was it? In any case, I swore that I would never let myself forget the shock you gave me back then. And as a symbol of how seriously I took that oath, I decided to wear this, my red Hachimaki headband. The cursed one that floats behind my head, even without a breeze. Sorry, Kazuma? Yes? You lost me there, I'm afraid. I don't see the link. What does your red headband have to do with your oath? Because it will always remind me that smug... Oh, fuck me. It will always remind me of that smug look on your face as you uttered those tantalizing words. What words? You mean another tongue twister? I practiced and practiced until my tongue bled, but in the end, I mastered it. Mastered what? Well, I think it's time you heard this, actually. Listen carefully now. Here goes. Red headband, red headband, dead headband. Okay, good job. Good job, Kazuma, you beat me. There, word perfect, see? I'd actually been meaning to ask you about that. About the story behind your headband, I mean. Well, now you know. So that I'll never forget the shock and humiliation of that day. That's why I wear this red headband every single day, without fail. You want to wash it once in a while? Actually, I can't imagine that, because if he didn't wash it, it wouldn't float like that. It would just be two stiff boards sticking out of the back of his head. Well, I don't know exactly how much of a shock you think you had back then, but it can't be more than the shock you've just given me now. What do you mean? Well, I'm sorry to have to tell you, but the tongue twister I said didn't go the way you seem to have remembered it. Hmm? It's just as famous as Swift Samurai Swords, so I can't believe you don't know it, really. It goes, red bread pan, lead bread pan, dead bread man.
Wait, what?
Red, ah! It seems I've knocked some wind out of that headband of yours. It's not too late, Private. You could always start wearing a red bread pan on your head instead.
Your youthful vigor is manifest, young man. Your cheeks are glowing redder than your hachimaki.
Why so many words? Why do so many have to word? Fucking me! Why do so many words have to be so similar? Why can't I read? So, looking forward to Great Britain then, where you'll have to deliver speeches in courts in English. I suppose I can always shell sea cells on the seashore. Did we find the pin? Nope, that was it. Okay. We'll do the actual next episode next time.